All right, finally, the video that everybody's been waiting for since they knew I got my hands on one of these. First thing I want to mention, if you wear rings, for God's sake, take your rings off when you're handling other people's knives. I don't care what you do with your own knives. I take my rings off when I'm working on my own knives. But take your rings off when you're handling other people's knives. I've seen too many people accidentally grind a ring into a knife and damage somebody's knife, and it's easily avoidable. Just something I've been meaning to mention for a while. I already pre-disassembled the Deadlock. Bunch of screws, takes a little while. This back cover is just that. It's just a thin aluminum cover that covers the main mechanism. This steel plate here is really what gives the Deadlock a lot of its strength, and this groove that you see cut into it, angled at each end, is really what makes a Deadlock, along with this flattened cone here. You can see, come in a little closer, you can actually see the contact points here and here, where at the end of travel the blade comes along and this cone hits that slope and is forced. In this case, let's see, it would be forced this way against the chassis, and because it's an angled cone, it also forces the blade towards the front of the chassis at the same time. And then the sear, when it gets all the way to the end of travel here, comes up and wedges into the locking notch. That's the other really cool thing that Gavin did when he designed this mechanism, is he moved the sear internal to the blade. Instead of having a sear up at the front of the chassis for the open position and another sear down at the bottom of the chassis for the closed position, he built the sear into the blade and only had to make locking notches at each end of the chassis. Really, really slick design. But really, it's that flattened cone and this groove in the chassis that makes the Deadlock what it is as far as the rigidity in the blade. So, now what everybody's been waiting for. Crack this one open. I did break it loose with this 1/4-inch driver to get a little leverage. It was very snug, which is a good thing. You don't want your pocket clip wandering around on you. And for anybody who's wondering, this is actually the first time I'm taking this apart. I did not cheat and get into it off camera to give myself any sort of advantage. See? Derail the blade here. I do really like this this dovetail mechanism that they use to hold the chassis together with the single point fastener. It's really slick. I think the first knife I saw it on was a core edge knife at Blade Show 2 years ago. It's similar. There's dovetails together and then has a single pocket clip screw that holds it in from the back. But yeah, once you pop that out and pull out, let the glass breaker drop out, this side of the chassis shifts forward just a teeny bit. I actually expected it to shift a little further, and then lifts off like a traditional Microtech. You've got your slider here with they use a little spring on the slider to avoid having the slider rattle. That can be really annoying. And then you can see here what I was talking about with the sear for the open position and then the sear for the closed position. It's interesting, I haven't seen, I didn't notice these screws when I watched the disassembly video that the Hollow Grind put up. You know, Yeah, I'm gonna have to pull at least one of these to get that out. That looks like, is that a T8 maybe? Yeah, T8. Do, do, do. That is obviously a steel screw. Alright. Got that. There's the new dual fuel, dual mainspring setup that they have on the new Gen 3 stuff. Something about this coupled with, I don't know, maybe some angle changes in the interfaces. All I know is the new stuff is crazy smooth. And then now, instead of having the stop pin just drop out like a traditional Microtech, we have, focus, there you go, we have a little tiny flathead set screw there, which it looks like I'm going to have to back out. See if that little guy is going to be the one I need. Yep. You're a little too fat to even fit in the hole. Go down one. Yummy. There we go. There we go. Just go like, back that out a turn. That should be enough. And then we've got a pretty big torch. And I hope I don't screw myself by not grabbing. Oh, very good. I was worried I might not have the right size in my set here. I had to grab the T30. There we go. All right. Shear out of the way. Pull this blade all the way out. Now we can see what's going on here. I'm going to put this back in. Now, something that has been mentioned is that this is tunable, and I'm going to admit I kind of a bonehead move here. I should have marked this. I should have marked the clock position on this before I took it apart. So now I'm going to have to take the time to tune this, but not the end of the world. We can see what's going on here. A very similar interface. You've got a flattened cone there. You've got a track with an angled end there. And that's going to come up, hit the end of travel, and wedge both this way towards the slider side of the handle, and it's going to force the blade this way and take out the horizontal play. It looks like they wedge opposite directions. The Microtech's going to wedge towards the spine, or the thumb side of the handle. The Deadlock wedges towards the front side of the handle. Fundamentally, I don't know if that makes a difference. I guess in actual cutting pressure, the blade on the Microtech is always already going to be in the direction, forced in the direction that you're going to be applying cutting pressure normally. Fundamentally, I don't know if that actually makes a huge amount of difference. Let me compare. Now, I did mention the adjustability here, and then you can lock it in place with the set screw. That's been mentioned in the Microtech videos as being, user adjustable for wear, which is really cool, and super easy to do. I believe, I haven't experimented with it, but I believe these other holes in the cone section of the deadlock allow you to clock this. I believe this cone is slightly eccentric, and so you could rotate this slightly if you needed to adjust the lockup. It's a theory. Like I said, I haven't experimented with it to play around with it, but that's what would make sense to me for having those other holes. I couldn't really see any other reason to have that. So yeah, fundamentally, Microtech definitely nailed the no play aspect. This thing, at least in my hands, seems to lock up just as solid as the deadlock, which is super cool. And I know Tony plans on implementing this into all of the OTFs, which will revolutionize the OTF industry, or at least as far as the Microtech lineup goes, because most people's problem with OTFs is the blade play, and this is going to eliminate that. So it's super cool to see it going into a production knife. Yeah, so there we go. Now we know. There's a little overview, a little breakdown and comparison between the Deadlock and the Microtech Luminary, their new no-play OTF. And hope you enjoyed it.